Okay, so imagine you finally decide to open a thrift store. You find a small building, install clothing racks, hang a bright sign outside, wait for people to donate their old clothes, price everything for just a few dollars, then watch customers walk in searching for bargains. From the outside, it looks like one of the simplest businesses in the world. You don't manufacture anything. You don't buy expensive inventory. You don't negotiate with factories. People literally give you the products for free, so making money should be easy, right? Except that's almost completely wrong. Because the thrift store isn't really in the business of selling old clothes. Its real business is something far more unpredictable. Uncertainty. Every donation bag that arrives behind the building is a complete mystery. Nobody knows what's inside. It could contain 50 worn-out t-shirts worth almost nothing, or it could contain a vintage leather jacket worth hundreds of dollars, a forgotten luxury handbag, a rare video game, an antique lamp, designer shoes, vintage denim, collectible glassware, or absolutely nothing valuable at all. Every donation is a mystery box. Every price tag is a financial decision. Every item quietly sitting on a shelf is either making money or slowly losing it. Here's something most people never realize. Tomorrow's inventory doesn't even exist yet. Not inside a warehouse, not inside a factory, not on a cargo ship crossing the ocean. It's still hanging inside someone's bedroom closet, packed inside a dusty garage, stored in an old attic, sitting in a basement, or hidden inside a storage unit that hasn't been opened in years. The owner hasn't even decided to donate it yet. Think about that for a moment. Imagine trying to run a supermarket where tomorrow's groceries depend entirely on whether complete strangers decide to clean out their kitchen. Sounds impossible. Yet that's exactly how thrift stores operate every single day. A traditional retailer simply calls a supplier, orders another shipment, negotiates prices, schedules delivery, predicts inventory months in advance. A thrift store can't do any of that. It can't order 10 vintage leather jackets. It can't request 500 designer handbags. It can't ask for another shipment of antique furniture. Instead, it waits. It waits for someone to clean out a closet. It waits for a family moving into a new house. It waits for college students leaving their apartments. It waits for businesses replacing office furniture. It waits for estates being cleared after a lifetime of collecting possessions. Its entire supply chain depends on human behavior, and human behavior is impossible to predict perfectly. That's what makes this business so fascinating. Because while most companies manage products, a thrift store manages randomness. Now imagine one ordinary cardboard donation box arriving early Monday morning. At first glance, it doesn't look special. Inside are dozens of old shirts, a few pairs of jeans, children's clothes, used kitchen utensils, some books. Nothing exciting, but hidden underneath everything else is a vintage designer handbag. The donor had no idea it was valuable. The store paid absolutely nothing to acquire it. Yet, after proper inspection, it could sell for $200, maybe even $300. That single item might generate more profit than dozens of ordinary clothing sales combined. One forgotten object, one unexpected discovery, one lucky donation. Can pay a meaningful portion of the month's rent. That's not luck, that's the entire business model, because most donated items barely cover the labor required to process them. Sorting, inspecting, cleaning, steaming, testing, pricing, tagging, displaying. Every ordinary shirt requires work before anyone can buy it, and work costs money. That's why thrift stores aren't searching for clothing. They're searching for hidden value. Customers think they're treasure hunters looking for the perfect bargain. But the store itself is hunting for something even more valuable, profitable randomness. The next hidden jackpot, the rare collectible hiding inside an ordinary donation bag, the luxury brand buried beneath piles of everyday clothing, the forgotten antique mixed in with cheap household items. Those discoveries quietly keep many thrift stores alive. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Where does all of this unpredictable inventory actually come from? Unlike almost every other business on Earth, there are no supply contracts, no purchase orders, no guaranteed deliveries, no manufacturing schedules. Instead, suppliers are ordinary people making life decisions. Families moving homes, parents cleaning children's bedrooms, college graduates leaving apartments, businesses upgrading offices, people downsizing after retirement, collectors reducing decades of possessions, entire estates being cleared after someone passes away. Every one of those moments creates inventory, not because anyone planned to supply a thrift store, but because human life keeps changing. That's why the economy affects thrift stores in surprising ways. When economic conditions become difficult, many households begin simplifying. People donate more. At exactly the same time, more shoppers begin searching for affordable alternatives instead of buying brand new products. Supply increases, demand increases. The business becomes busier from both directions, then spring arrives. Across entire neighborhoods, families begin cleaning garages, organizing closets, emptying basements. Suddenly, trucks begin arriving one after another, filled with unexpected donations. No factory planned it. No executive scheduled it. Human behavior created an inventory surge. That means a thrift store manager isn't forecasting factory production. They're forecasting the habits of an entire community. And that's a very different kind of business. Because here's the biggest misconception almost everyone has. People assume donated inventory is completely free. And if inventory is free, then every sale must be almost pure profit. But free is not the same thing as costless, and that's where the real economics of a thrift store finally begin. So if donated inventory isn't really free, where do all the costs come from? Most people imagine a donation arriving at the back door. An employee places it on a shelf. A customer buys it the next day. Simple, but that's almost never how the process works. Every donation begins a long journey before it ever reaches the sales floor. The moment a donation arrives, someone has to unload it, sort it, inspect every item, separate clothing from books, books from electronics, electronics from furniture, furniture from household goods. Every category follows a completely different process. Then comes quality control. Because not everything donated can actually be sold. Some clothes are stained, some are torn, some electronics no longer work, some furniture is broken, some toys are missing pieces. Some items are simply too damaged for anyone to buy. Every unusable item becomes another expense because someone still has to dispose of it. That means trucks, waste collection, recycling, storage, and labor. Suddenly, free inventory isn't looking so free anymore. Now imagine receiving thousands of donated items every single day. Every single one must be inspected. Every single one requires a decision. Sell it, repair it, recycle it, or throw it away. Each decision costs both time and money. Then comes pricing. This is where thrift stores become surprisingly complicated. A traditional retailer already knows the cost of every product. Buy a shirt for $10, sell it for $25. Simple. A thrift store doesn't have that luxury. Nobody knows what an item originally cost. Nobody knows how old it is. Nobody knows how rare it might be. Employees must estimate its value, sometimes within only a few seconds. A simple jacket might be worth $15, or it might be a vintage designer piece worth $300. A dusty coffee mug could be worth $1, or it could be a rare collectible worth hundreds. One mistake can cost the business a significant amount of money. Price something too high. And it sits on the shelf for months. Price it too low, and someone walks away with an incredible bargain while the store loses potential profit. Finding the right balance is one of the hardest parts of the business. That's why experienced employees become incredibly valuable. They recognize luxury brands, vintage fashion, rare collectibles, limited editions, designer labels, antiques, sports memorabilia, and valuable electronics. Knowledge quietly becomes one of the store's greatest competitive advantages. Then there's inventory turnover. Every item occupying shelf space has a hidden cost. A shirt that sells today creates room for tomorrow's donation. A shirt that sits for 6 months blocks new inventory from being displayed. Slow-moving inventory slowly reduces profitability. Successful thrift stores understand this very well. Instead of waiting forever for the perfect customer, they reduce prices over time. Colored discount tags, weekly promotions, clearance events. Everything is designed to keep inventory moving. Because empty shelf space is actually valuable. It creates room for the next hidden treasure. Customer psychology also plays an enormous role. People don't visit thrift stores expecting certainty. They visit expecting discovery. Every shopping trip feels like a treasure hunt. Most visitors leave without finding anything extraordinary. But every once in a while, someone discovers a luxury handbag, a rare vinyl record, a collectible watch, a vintage leather jacket, or an antique piece of furniture. Those stories spread quickly. They encourage more customers to return because everyone believes the next hidden treasure might be waiting for them. That feeling can't be manufactured. Traditional retailers sell predictable products. Thrift stores sell possibility. Every visit feels different. Every shelf tells a different story. And every customer hopes today will be the lucky day. But this business has changed dramatically over the last decade. Online resale platforms have transformed the secondhand market. Vintage clothing, designer handbags, rare sneakers, luxury watches, collectibles. Many valuable items are now identified before they ever reach the sales floor. Some organizations even maintain dedicated teams that research high-value donations. Instead of placing those items on ordinary shelves, they sell them through specialized online marketplaces where buyers from around the world compete for them. That creates higher revenue, but it also creates another challenge. The better a thrift store becomes at identifying valuable items, the fewer unexpected bargains remain for customers. Finding the right balance becomes essential, because treasure hunters return for one reason: hope. If shoppers believe every valuable item has already been removed, the excitement slowly disappears. Successful thrift stores understand this better than anyone. They don't simply sell secondhand products. They create an experience built around discovery. Every visit feels unpredictable. Every aisle offers possibility. Every shelf hides another story waiting to be uncovered. But even with thousands of donations, careful pricing, experienced employees, and loyal customers, one important question still remains. After paying employees, rent, utilities, transportation, waste disposal, processing costs, marketing, technology, and daily operating expenses, how much money does a thrift store actually keep? That's where the real financial story finally begins. So how much money does a thrift store actually make? The answer surprises almost everyone, because the biggest challenge isn't finding customers or even finding donations. It's turning thousands of unpredictable items into consistent profit. Every month begins with uncertainty. No manager knows exactly what inventory will arrive. No one can predict whether tomorrow's donations will contain ordinary clothing or thousands of dollars worth of hidden treasures. Yet payroll still has to be paid. Rent still arrives. Utility bills never stop. Insurance remains. Transportation costs continue. That's what makes this business so unusual. Unlike traditional retailers, a thrift store can't simply order more best-selling products. Its inventory depends entirely on what people decide to give away. That creates incredible opportunities, but it also creates enormous uncertainty. Then there's another hidden challenge: space. Every clothing rack, every bookshelf, every furniture display has value. If one slow-moving item sits for months, something more profitable can't take its place. Successful thrift stores understand this. They're not simply selling products. They're managing inventory speed. The faster products move, the more opportunities arrive. That's why clearance sales happen so often. Old inventory leaves, new donations replace it. The cycle never stops. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this business isn't found on the shelves. It's found inside human psychology. Walk into a traditional retail store, everything is predictable. Walk into a thrift store, nothing is. Every visit feels like a treasure hunt, a designer jacket, a rare vinyl record, an antique lamp, a luxury handbag. Nobody knows what they'll discover next, including the store itself. That uncertainty keeps customers returning, not because they need something, but because they don't want to miss the next hidden treasure. Very few businesses create that kind of excitement. Then there's another advantage. Every donated item already has a story. A suitcase that traveled the world, a bookshelf that stood in someone's home for decades, a watch passed down through generations. The original owner moves on, but the item begins a new journey. That's why vintage products continue growing in popularity. People aren't only buying objects, they're buying craftsmanship, history, character, uniqueness. Then comes the rise of professional resellers. Some shoppers visit thrift stores every single morning, searching for valuable brands, collectibles, vintage fashion, rare electronics, luxury accessories. They restore them, photograph them, then resell them online. One forgotten donation can eventually reach a buyer on the other side of the world. The secondhand economy has become global. Technology has transformed the business. Digital inventory systems, online marketplaces, artificial intelligence, price research. Everything helps stores identify valuable donations faster than ever before. But there's a trade-off. If every valuable item is removed before reaching the sales floor, the excitement disappears. Successful thrift stores understand that balance. Customers return because hope still exists. Then there's sustainability. Every donated shirt reused instead of discarded reduces waste. Every repaired chair extends the life of valuable materials. Every secondhand purchase reduces demand for new manufacturing. Millions of products receive a second chance instead of ending up in landfills. That's one reason younger generations increasingly embrace secondhand shopping, not only because it saves money, but because it supports a more sustainable lifestyle. So what does the financial picture actually look like? Some independent thrift stores generate hundreds of thousands of dollars each year. Large organizations generate millions, but revenue is never the same as profit. After payroll, rent, utilities, transportation, insurance, cleaning, technology, marketing, processing, repairs, and daily operating expenses, only a portion remains. That's why some thrift stores struggle, while others quietly become incredibly successful. The difference usually isn't luck, it's efficiency. The smartest pricing, the fastest inventory turnover, the strongest community relationships, and the ability to recognize hidden value before anyone else. So is owning a thrift store actually a great business? The answer depends on what you think you're buying. If you believe you're opening a simple secondhand shop, you're missing the real business. But if you understand you're managing one of the world's most unpredictable supply chains, a retail operation, a recycling network, a pricing business, and a community marketplace all at the same time, the economics become much clearer, because customers don't visit thrift stores simply to buy used products. They come searching for opportunity, affordability, sustainability, rare discoveries, and hidden value. The products fill the shelves, but the possibility keeps people coming back. That's the real secret behind thrift stores. They don't simply sell secondhand goods. They transform forgotten possessions into new opportunities. They turn yesterday's unwanted belongings into tomorrow's valuable discoveries, and they prove something remarkable about business. The greatest opportunities aren't always created by making something new. Sometimes they're created by recognizing value that everyone else overlooked. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson every thrift store quietly teaches. Opportunity isn't always manufactured. Sometimes it's donated. And once you understand that, you'll never walk into a thrift store the same way again.